Welcome to part 12 of the series of After Effects tutorials. My name is Arnold Faller and this is currently the last tutorial in a kind of logical order. I appreciate it if you followed me till part 12. During that time you probably gained a profound basic skill in After Effects and you're ready to go out and work on your own visual effects. In the future I will post hopefully interesting tutorials about various topics, so stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what you would like to see or what you're interested in. A short YouTube research showed that people use various techniques to achieve the Indiana Jones map effect or any map animation for that matter. I would like to start by showing 3 different approaches to animate a path on a map, and then we're going to create the Indiana Jones inspired map animation from start to finish. Hope you like it. The different elements that I've used can be found as links in the video description. So let's get started. Here's a little preview what we will create in this tutorial, and it's just a video. Let's quickly play it. So we're gonna animate a path from between different points. We're gonna have a cloud overlay and we're gonna have some planes flying through the picture. And here's another old plane going through. And then at the end, I'm going to show you another effect that you can use for different arrows in here. So that was just a brief preview, and let's get started. Let's start with the 3 different approaches how to animate a path on a map. And therefore, we just tried with a simple new composition, 1920 by 1080. I'll just show you the 3 different ways to do it. The first one is actually only working for straight lines. So if you have a map animation between 2 points and you want to create a straight line, there's a way how to do that. So basically what you have to do is you have to start with a solid layer. Layer, new solid. And green's fine. And on this solid layer, you place an effect called beams. It's made actually for those laser beams and something like this. So I'm going to effects and presets, and here it is, beam. Sorry, not beams, beam only. And you place it on your solid. So this beam effect now has a start point and an end point. You can see it. And when you play your right now it's not animated, and then you have something like a laser beam that is red and pink at the edges. Look at this, it looks like a laser beam. Then you can use it from your laser gun to the target point, but we're going to use that for animating a path on a map, a straight path of course. First you place your starting point somewhere, let's say here, and you place your end point, let's place it here. And now here we have the different parameters. I'm going to have a straight red line, so I'm going to make the second color, the inside color, also the same red. So I have a straight red beam going there. And now you're going to take the length of the beam and make it, you can see it, the length of the beam is the whole thing. Of course, you have to make it as long as the path the maximum path is, so that is 100%. And now the timing, and you can see the timing is actually the center of the path, and when you move it you can see that the beam, the laser beam, just moves around. So what you do is at the beginning of your map animation you bring it to 0, which is the very beginning. If you do it to -1 or so, you can even avoid that you start with a little dot, because it actually is almost like it's coming out. So if you go take this to, you cannot take it to minus, sorry, I thought it's possible. Then you, at the beginning of your animation, then you move to the length of your map animation, let's say about 4 seconds, and then you animate the time and animate it from 0 to 50. Don't go further, because if you want this, and it's fine, but then the end will be pulled in. I'm just going to 50%. That means the entire path is visible. And now, yes, you can, I think by default it looks like this. No, I'm not sure. You have to check what the default value is. So here it is, and there's my animation. Oh, didn't I press? Sorry. somehow it didn't animate the effect. Strange. Okay, beginning 0. There it is. Now it moves from here to here. That works perfect, or it only works, of course, on straight lines. But therefore, it's really simple. You just place your start point there, your end point there. If you are really using this effect to shoot laser beams, you can also change the thickness, because the laser in perspective, it will go backwards somewhere, and you would have a thicker laser beam towards you, and further away it will be thinner, so you can change those two values or animate them as well. So, but that is for a straight line, quite a simple solution. So the next two solutions all have to do with the pen tool, and with the pen tool it also allows you to do a path that goes any direction. I would like to start with the first one, and that is simply don't click on any layer. I'm here at the beginning of my animation. Don't click on any layer, and then use the pen tool, because when you're not clicking on any layer, it will create a shape layer. So here, and then we are on the pen tool. I have turned Roto Bezier off, because I can, without Roto Bezier, I can start with a curve, and this is perfect for having plain path or something like this. So for example, I can click and drag with a handle over here. I'm going to do the same distance approximately, and I can do a curved path like this. Of course, I can change the handles later if I want more curved and so on. So here's my new shape layer 1. How does it look like? So what is the look of the layer? That can all be adjusted. If you go down in here, contents, and then you see shape 1. Here's the path, the stroke, red color, okay? Stroke width, so if you want it thicker or thinner, so let's try maybe 15. Then something that you might want as soon as it gets animated, you don't want the end of the path. Let's look in there. It's called a butt cap, so it's like cut off with a knife, a straight end. We want the round cap, because it looks more like an animated path when it's a round cap. And so on and so on. So all these things, you can also later on add dashes. That's what we do maybe in the Indiana Jones thing, that we add some dashes. So right now we just keep the straight line, and now let's animate it. And therefore you're going to go into the shape 1, and then you add. Here's add. Also, when you create it up here, there's an add button. You click add, and what you add is trim path. So you add a trim path, and it just adds something to the path. Here it is, trim path, and start and end. And this is the value that we're going to animate. So at the very beginning, we want the start to be at 0 and the end to be at 0. So we have no line, and now we hit animate. So we animate only the end value, then go to 4 seconds approximately, and then change the end to 100% of the path. And now those two lines will be animated. If you don't want the animation between the 2 points to be linear, right now it's just linear, boring speed. So if you want to slowly start it and speed up in the middle and end towards, you can always do this by selecting those 2 keys. Basically, right now they're linear keys. Select them and adjust the curve between the two. So there's a curve. See, right now it's linear. Let's select the 2 curves, and the fastest way is to select them. Do a right click and use the keyframe assistant to use either an ease in curve or an ease out curve, or the easy ease, which does it automatically. That means slowly starting and slowly ending. So let's do this easy ease. And now if you look, see, it slowly starts, then it speeds up, and then it slowly ends. That's maybe looking a little bit more dynamic. You can also work with the curve and may have it like speed up even faster in the middle. That can also be done, of course, with any other animation. For example, here with this one, you could also animate the curve more the change of values more dynamically. Okay, and now the last way to create it. So this was a path with the pen tool drawn, but as a shape layer, and then you added the trim path. Now I'm going to create another solid, layer, new solid. Let's make it a different color. It doesn't matter, we don't see it. Select this. Yes, also comp size. And now what we're going to do is now we create also a pen tool, but with the layer selected. That means with the pen tool, I'm going to turn it off because otherwise I don't see the two others. So the layer here selected, and if I now use the pen tool, you all know if we followed me so far, now we are drawing a mask, not a shape. So now click here, click and drag, I do the same thing now as a mask. As a mask, this line is actually quite useless because you know masks need to be closed in order to work properly, but nevertheless, it's still not masking anything, but we draw the line as a mask. So now, in order to see the mask, what we need to do is we need to give this layer another effect, and this one's called stroke. You can use a stroke to make masks visible. So generate stroke, place it on the solid layer. Now all the settings have to be done in the stroke layer. So let's have a look. Let me turn it on. It still is the purple solid visible. Paint style, you can use paint style and on transparent, so then the solid will be made transparent, and now we only see the stroke. The stroke has a certain color, so it uses the path, it uses the mask. See, it uses the mask as its path. The color, we're gonna get the same color as this one, so eyedrop tool and click on the red. Brush size, let's do the same, 15. Well, and looks like it's a little thicker than the other one. Hardness, of course, soft edges, hard edges, so we go hardness, yeah, anything, doesn't matter. Opacity, yeah? And now we have start and end. And now if I move the end percentage, you can see this is what we want. We want the animation. So all we need to do is from 0 to 4 seconds, animate the value for end. So I'm going to click end and hit animate here. That creates automatically the key at the beginning, and then I go to 4 seconds and hit end at 100, enter. And now here is my path animation. If I want to have the same dynamic easy ease movement of the path, all I need to do is take the effect, not only up here, it's also written down here, and you can see the keyframes down here. So the effect, stroke, and here are the two keys, the end animation. Just select those two keys, right click, keyframe assistance, easy ease, and then we have the same change as the other ones. Okay, so that was the brief overview of the animation, which is the key or the essential part in our animation. And let's get started with creating the whole effect, because there are a few things that are different or necessary to keep in mind. So I'm going to kick out everything out of the project folder. I'm going to delete composition 1. That deletes everything out of there. And I'm going to start with pulling in my world map. And the map that I took is from the internet and one that is free to use. Unfortunately, it's not showing the Pacific. Actually, it's cut off somewhere at the date, at the date line. So we just see America and Europe, Asia, Africa, and we don't see the Pacific. And what I would like to do is I would like to do the traditional Indiana Jones animation, where he goes from Los Angeles to I think Hawaii, and then to Manila, and then to Tibet. So I'm gonna pull in my picture as my background, and I'm using footage, and I choose which layer because my Photoshop file has 2 layers. I'll show you later what the other layer is. Here's my map layer. This is how it looks like. Let's quickly double click it. So here, this is what my footage looks like. So you can see what I mean. The Pacific is, oh, you cannot see it because it's out here. The Pacific is cut off, and this is actually where I would like to fly from here to here and then over here. So if you look at, let's close it. If you look at the size, it's 4,000 wide by 3,000, so way larger than any composition that we need. We do it again in full HD. So, and I'm gonna make it even larger. Now I'm gonna create a new composition that is twice the width of my map, and I just use the map 2 times on it, and you will see it's tileable, it fits together. So I'm going to create a new composition, and I'm going to make it 8000 by 3086. That's a really large composition. Let's zoom out, and it's also a format that we cannot use, CinemaScope. And now on this background here, I'm going to pull in my picture, and it will snap to the document boundaries, and I'm going to pull it in 2 times. And there we have it. This is where we're going to work, and it fits. It doesn't fit together perfectly. I could have changed that in Photoshop maybe a little bit because there's something missing. Actually, there's a bridge between the two, but nobody's going to look at this point because we're flying down here closer to the equator. So now I have my 2 maps ready, and you know what? I'm going to link them. I'm going to lock them because I don't want to accidentally move them or move them. So next thing is, now I want my path, and I'm going to, from the methods that I was previously showing, I'm going to use the one with the trim path. That's actually one of my favorites, but it doesn't matter. You can use any method, but I'm not going to use the straight line because it should look like a plane, and it looks better if it has a slight curve. So let's go in here. In my large composition, I'm going to place all the elements that are animated, and later on I'm going to create a smaller full HD composition in which I'm only looking at the map, even 3-dimensional with a camera. So let's just paint on my picture there. So I'm going to start from Los Angeles somewhere to Hawaii and so on. So you could do it in one path. So you could create one path going here, going there, going there. I'm actually choosing more than one path, and I'll show you quickly why, because I can simply copy them for the next path. So first path, nothing is selected. I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm going to start somewhere here in Los Angeles with a handle, go to somewhere on on Hawaii in a slight curve. So that is my path. Now how do we animate it? I'm going to use again 4 seconds. Animation means I'm going to take the shape layer, go down into the no, I have to add the trim path first. Add trim path. Now I go down into trim path, and I'm going to animate the end value. So at the beginning, at the start, the end is at 0. Then I go to 4 seconds. So exactly 4 seconds. You can also type it in here. And go to 100. So here's my animation. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to see, this is the cut off. I don't like that. So I'm going in here, the shape, the stroke, and the line cap. I'm going to use the round cap. Close that up and close all the content there. Good. So I have my animation. Now I'm going to, sorry, I shouldn't have closed it. Here's my animation that I select both keys, start and end, and I'm going to use the keyframe assistant and do an ease curve so that it has a little bit more dynamic. We can always change that later. Good. So, and there it is. My the first leg of my path. I'm going to have another one to the Philippines and another one then to the North Himalaya region. So what I meant before, the animation is here is something. I shouldn't have closed it. If you move your time slider, by the way, and you hold your shift key, you will notice it will snap to any keys or ends and beginnings of clips. You can also use these arrows here to jump from one to the other. So I want to be precisely where the landing happens in Hawaii, and now here I'm at 4 seconds. Leave my time slider there, and now I'm going to duplicate my shape layer. You hit Ctrl D for duplicate, and the second one I'm just moving it in time. Again, hold the shift key, because then it snaps to this beginning. So I just made a copy that started 4 seconds later, and this copy I'm going to move it to a different location. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to open it, the content, here's the shape. I click on the path, and now if I use my selection tool, I can just take those points of the copy, of course, which is the top, and move it to a different position. So one time here and one time there. Let's zoom in a bit so it's getting more precise. So like this. Good. So now I have the same thing 4 seconds later, and it will start from there. So arrive and right, it looks like as if it right away continues. The curve is kind of okay. Yeah, it's okay. Landing in the Philippines, a little bit from the north. And now I'm going to do this one more time. But first, let me get the same movement here. Shift till I reach the end, my 4 seconds. So I'm going to have them really perfectly aligned. Now I select my shape layer number 2 and hit Ctrl D one more time, and also shift that in time 4 seconds later. And now I have my third trip. This trip, again, open it, click on the content shape on the path, and now with the selection tool you can select one part of the path, somewhere here, and another one there. Adjust the handles, place them, oh, that is not in Manila, it's a little bit further north, but you guys probably. And the landing, that in the Himalaya region doesn't make sense to make such a curve. Let's do more like this. Pretty much straight flight. This one's maybe due west. Good, there it is. And of course, it will also be the same. Some might say now, but the paths are totally different length. So the shortest one is approximately the same, half the length of the large one. Yeah, but maybe let's say they took a different plane. So it all takes 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds to reach those different destinations. So now I have it, and if I move my mouse, I can see how the path works. So almost done. The details and so on we can do later, like have a dotted line or a dashed line, maybe some drop shadows, and you can put some pin marks and points and maybe write Manila and Tibet or something like this in here. That's all. It's all in this composition. But this composition, let's name it quickly. That is my map. The map composition. We're not going to use that, but we're going to use a brand new composition and bring the map in it. So let's create a new composition here, and the new composition obviously will be a regular 1920 by 1080. See, 1080p, 25 frames per second, 30 seconds. Yes, I'm not going to use that, all that. So here's my new composition. Now, that is a word that I don't like, but let's just call it enter and then call it the final composition. Good, here's my final composition, and now I'm going to take the map and drag it into the final composition. So you can drag it in anywhere in here, but I'm going to drag it there so it's placed centered. And when it's centered, you know, it's how it looks like, so we're right in the same area that we need. Why is it so big? Yeah, because it's much larger in size. This is only 2000 pixel high, and we have 4000 from our map. So here's my map, and now I'm going to look at the map, not with the, you can do it with a regular, you can just take the map and move it around. It's all fine if you want to do your map animation like this, but I would like to show you to do the movement on the map with a camera, and therefore I'm going to create a layer new camera, custom, let's go for a 24 millimeter, don't know, one node camera, okay. Right, I don't have a depth of field, we can add that later. Okay, so here's my camera, only works with 3D layers, we know that. We have to turn it 3D later on. And I don't want to touch the camera actually, so to make it a little simpler to touch it, I'm also going to add a layer new null object. So here's my null object, which is basically right there where the camera is looking at. So if in 3D space, the camera is further back. So this is actually where directly on the map. And now I'm going to link the camera to the null object, and whenever I move the null on the map, I will, you can see what happens. So take the camera and link it to the null. From now on, we're not going to touch the camera, and we're not going to touch the map either, because we don't want the map to be moved and so on. So let's make both the null and the map a 3D layer, and let's go a little bit forward till the first travel is done, and let's animate our camera position. So we can go to camera 1 or right here, and let's zoom in a bit. So to zoom in, we're going to select the null object, and we need two things. For the null object, we need P for position, and we also need R for rotation. And you can do this by, now I mean R for rotation. You can press Shift and P, and then you have both. You have position and rotation. And for the rotation of the null object, which results in, which results in the camera moving, see, and then that gives you a 3D view. Let's do undo. We always animate, you can also do others, but I animate orientation and only the first two, because this will result in a rolling camera, which I don't like. So I'm animating the first two values and all the position values. And if you want to zoom in, you're not going to zoom in, but you're dolly in. So you take the whole camera and move closer, and that you get by moving the position of the null closer or further away. Okay, let's edit, undo that. That means we're going to animate both position and orientation. That means we need a lot of keyframes. So I'm going to start to select these 4 values and turn the animation on for all those 4 values. Now let's get closer to the beginning, somewhere here in Los Angeles. And I would like to start by getting closer, moving to the right, and I'm also going to rotate a bit, and this time I'm rotating around the x-axis, as if I look from the south to it, and also a little bit from this side, so I see the whole Pacific there. And now I have to adjust my height a bit more. Doesn't have to be precisely on Los Angeles, doesn't matter, and we don't see this later on. So here it is. So we know, okay, we see the Baja California, so we know where we are. Maybe even a little bit closer. And up. Okay. And now, this is the beginning, and now we go to the point where we are going to end at somewhere here, 4 seconds. And this is, we have to be at a different position. Now, I'm going to change all the values. So I'm going for a little bit to the left, maybe a little bit south, and maybe the rotation is less, it's more like center in the middle. You have to do the rotation first, because you do quite a distance when you rotate, and then you have to fix the position again. So this is where we see. So here we have those 2 values. See, make sure that there is a keyframe for both of them, position and orientation. And now I'm going for 8 seconds and rotate a bit towards that. I see the rest of the Pacific, back east, and move over there. Maybe a little bit back. So if you're not familiar with the map, where are we? Let's zoom out on the Philippines somewhere, and prepare a little space to the left, because we are planning to do more. So we got another keys, and now if I move the 2, you can see the middle position above Hawaii, and the beginning position was like this. So here we are, and we have one more 4 seconds, so 8 and 12. I'm not that precise anymore. And now I'm gonna keep my rotation. It almost looks as if the Earth rotation is visible due to the camera, and I'm just moving my position a little bit further west and a little bit up. Maybe a little bit more straight. And a little bit zoomed in, or not zoomed in, dolly in, get a little closer. So, but that is all up to you. We are here at the center of our frame. So there it is, my camera animation is ready. There. So that's it. So now we are at 12 seconds, and here at 12 seconds I'm gonna do the next thing that, that I wanted to show you, and therefore I'm going back to my map project, because I'm going to add another layer that I have in my Photoshop file, and this looks ugly, but I just wanted to show you something. So you can not only animate a path by adding the you drawing a path and then use the trim path option, but you can also do something that is called the write on effect, and therefore I'm going to bring the world map back in again, and this time I'm going to choose footage layer, and I'm going to use the other layer, not the map, and okay, and I'm going to place it here. Remember, it's two of them. I just place it on the left side, and this is what I did in Photoshop. Ugh. I just drew an arrow there. See, not really nice. I just took a brush and drew an arrow. So you can also animate this path, or show how it's growing, and therefore I'm looking from the straight up. So the animation, the animation of the path starts at 12 seconds. So I'm going to take the shape, the layer, the picture. It's just a picture, a transparent picture, and I'm going to take the beginning and bring it to 12 seconds. So there it is, and now I'm going to animate it in about, not 4 seconds, maybe 1 or 2 seconds, 1 second maybe, to grow. So therefore, I'm going to give the layer an effect that's called write on. Write on, and place it on the arrow. This is just the red arrow here. I'm gonna turn the others off so you don't see it. So the write on effect basically has a brush, and I'm gonna place the brush position here, brush position. I'm gonna place it here before the beginning of the path, and now I'm gonna change the brush size, and you can now see it's a white brush. There it is. Right now what it does, it just covers wherever you put it. Make the white brush, I'm going to make it as large as the arrow here is, so brush size even larger, something like this. So, and then I bring it to the beginning, before the beginning of my path. And now I'm using the write on, and I'm animating my brush to go tuk, 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 in a couple frames, 25 frames or so, to go along the path. Therefore, I'm going to using my left hand on my keyboard, and I'm going to use the picture up and down keys to go. Look at the timeline. If I go picture down, it goes 2 frames forward, or picture up goes 2 frames backwards. So now my write on effect, all I want to do is I want to animate the brush position, and I click here at animate brush position. So now here it is right now, and then I go 1, 2 frames in time, and I move my brush a little bit. 1, 2 clicks, and then move a little bit. So basically I'm just following the arrows. You can always, I don't know if you can hear it, but I want 1, 2, and then go to the next. And as it's animated, I will leave a lot of keyframes for that. 1, 2. When you reach the arrowhead, make sure you arrive in the center because you will later on see it on the animation. 1, 2. So, and now all the arrow is covered. And the thing is now, in paint style, it says on original image. We need that to draw the painting on the path, on the original image. But at the end, when we're done with the animation, and it just takes 1 second, we're gonna switch that to on reveal original image. And that means now my white brush kind of reveals it. In the beginning, it's invisible, and the white brush reveals the original image. So it looks like as if my arrow is developing. And that is also if you have an irregular path, or maybe you have something like, I don't know, a tattoo on your arm that is like growing, or you have some plants or floral motifs that are growing, you prepare them in Photoshop on different layers, and then you use the write on effect to animate it. I'm sure there are lots of tutorials out there that show you how to use the write on effect. So there it is, and it shows my path. Let's quickly have a look at the final composition, and I'm going to create a preview. Therefore, I use the work area, which is 30 seconds now. I'm going to place it to somewhere here. And if you hit the space key, let's zoom in a little bit more even. No, like this, good. If you hit the space key, don't select any layer, hit the space key, and then it's going to render, it's rendering a preview, a RAM preview, so it's not real time yet. Oh, sorry. Stop. I turned in my map layer, I turned the animated paths off. Of course, in the final layer, they are not visible. So one more time, space key. See, and as soon as it's green here, it's going to run in real time. Right now, it's still skipping frames and so on, but you see, as soon as we're landing there at 12, then the last animation thing. That is just something I added if you are interested to animate in Photoshop or in your Photoshop file. Okay, so now from now on it's running in real time, and here is my animation to Tibet, and then continuing on the Silk Road, somewhere Caspian Sea and so on. Okay, so let's add a few more elements that are typical for the Indiana Jones animation, and that is the overlay. And I'm sure you have Googled. If not, then search for the how the original map animation looks like. There's some clouds on top of it, and there is there's some airplanes flying by. So in order to get clouds, I'm going to start with the clouds. I went on YouTube and I searched for green screen clouds. Really simple, green screen clouds. And when I found a cloud, so you see there's lots of clouds, green screen there. And when I found the cloud, I simply copied the link of the YouTube video and went to a YouTube video downloader. It was for free use, by the way, so that the person who uploaded the cloud said for free use. And I downloaded the video, and there it is, clouds, green screen. I'm going to bring it into my project folder, clouds, green screen. Of course, not in the map folder, but in the final composition here. So here's my clouds, green screen. They are in 1920 by 1080, same thing. 30 frames per second, doesn't matter, and 42 seconds. There's different clouds, animated clouds, and so on. So let's bring them right here. Just drag them into your composition. Make sure they fit. If you don't, you can also drag them in here. Then they will fit for sure. And here's my green screen cloud. Of course, we have talked about green screen before. I have to get rid of the green color. It works really well in these examples. So all you need to do is place the key light effect on it. So key light 1.2, place it on the clouds, and in the key light effect, you choose the screen color with the eyedropper and click in the green area, and you can see all the clouds are visible. So you can of course scale in, zoom in, but this one is quite nice because it gives me a bottom layer of clouds, almost a little bit too much, because here at the end I can hardly see where I land. Maybe if I shift it in time, it's not getting better if I shift it in time. Oh yeah, it is towards the end. Maybe here, let's try. Yeah, it's still covering a lot. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move it down a little bit, the clouds. So, and don't shift it in time, because the beginning was quite okay. So now it's more or less bottom, and I can see the path is above the clouds, and yes, I can see where I'm landing. And now that's quite clear. There's lots of green screen clouds there. Just try it, zoom it. If it doesn't work, then you can mirror it, and if it's the wrong, you can also use more than one cloud. If it is too strong, too white, then you can always change the transparency. Click on the cloud layer, hit T for transparency or opacity, and take it down like 80% or so. Then it's more or less mixing together with the clouds, with the map. And the last thing, and I use the same technique for that, is to get an old plane. I googled, no, on YouTube I searched for green screen old plane. So let's see, I'll have to rename it old plane. And green screen old plane, and this is what I got, a short green screen video of a double-decker old plane flying in different directions. So let's quickly watch it. I'm double-clicking it, and here it is. Oh, sorry, where we are, layer? No, let's drag it in. So here it is, the final one, and here's the old plane, and I think it's best to do it above the clouds. And it starts with, see, this is where I got it from, best green screen from. I'm gonna add the link down there. And of course, there's lots of planes in there, and I don't want all of them. So the first one is maybe a bit too big in the beginning. So I'm gonna use one like this. This one, for example. So let's start where it begins, right here. And you know that there is, you can duplicate layer by splitting them. So right now here's the beginning, and I only want what's after my, after the time slider, after the slider. And if you use Control-Shift-D, so Control-D is duplicate and Control-Shift-D is duplicate with a split. And now I'm going to delete the bottom one and just keep this one. Put it somewhere here. And I would like to begin with the plane flying this way, and as soon as it's finished, there, I'm going to split the layer again, Control-Shift-D, and now I look the top part, which other, yeah, I'm gonna take the next one, this one, because it looks like as if it's landing or flying towards a position. So I'm going to find the end of the part that I want, hit Control-Shift-D again, and this time I'm going to delete the top, and I'm not going to use all the other animations that are in there. So my planes, my two planes, I'm going to use the first plane here at the beginning, like starting from Los Angeles, and the second one is flying right into Tibet. So they are already at a good position. Maybe take them a little bit apart. I could slow them down. They are right click. How long? Doesn't matter. Time. How much do we have? Time stretch. Right now they are 6 seconds long. So let's try. Always wrong. I always go in the wrong direction first. 80%. So made it a little bit. Oh, that's faster. Sorry. No, that's good. I want it slower, but it. So let's just keep it this way. Of course, they are green screen, so I need to put a key light on them. Alt plane, click here, remove the green, and I could have done that before I split them up, because now I have to do everything twice. Sorry, I wanted to see the green. Oh, green screen, pick the green. Good, and I'm gonna take those two planes and I'm gonna make the transparency, opacity also lower than 100%. So they slightly blend into the blue of the sky or the water. So here it is, and let's say 80%. Good. So there it is. Maybe the position are gonna change. So the first beginning, so the plane comes somewhere here out of the clouds and flies. That's good. The top left, and then the other plane coming from the back, and boom, flies right into there. Okay. If you don't like the end animation of my arrow, you can simply go back to the map and turn off the top layer, which is responsible for the last key, and you're fine. I like it much more with this. And there it is without the animation. Let's do a quick RAM preview. I'm gonna make the 16 seconds long and hit space. Okay, and here it is running in real time, the whole effect. Before we end it, let me quickly go back to my maps here, and I'm going to show you a few more things. One would be to place an effect on those paths to make them look different. So when you select this is shape layer number 1, what I mentioned is you could create not a continuous stroke, but to add here's stroke number 1, to add some dashes. So you go to stroke number 1, and here you find somewhere dashes, and you just click at plus. That will create the first dash, and you hit plus one more time, because then you can also adjust the gap. Let's say if I'm going to create a gap that is larger, 15, I'm going to create a dash that is smaller, 5, maybe make some points as I've shown in my preview. That is a dash of 0 and a gap of 15, so about the size of my spots. So that would be an effect that you could add, or I'm going for the second path. It's on top, the shape layer number 2. Of course, you can also use trim path, shape, stroke, dashes, plus. You can also add longer dashes, something like this. I usually like it if the gap between the dashes is not too large, so I'm going to add another one with more like this, so not the default size, but a little bit longer. That would be a possibility, and so on and so on. So you can add all kinds of effects. The next thing is that you could add to your path or to your shape is, for example, an effect called a drop shadow. So if you add a drop shadow, I think it's this one, perspective drop shadow, yes, number 1. So, and it looks even as if it's a little bit above the map. So the drop shadow, all kinds of ways, direction, distance, how far is it, not so far, how far is it away, how is the opacity, let's take that down to really gray, softness, blur it a bit, so it's not that strong. And there it is. So that would be a nice way to create a three-dimensional shadow. Of course, when you go to your final composition, at the beginning, then you, of course, the shadow will develop as the dots go. So it looks as if even a bit more distance of the shadow, maybe like this. Here in the final composition, see, then it develops as the line approaches, it has the shadow and it's above the map. Whatever you want, if you want it to include, if you want it to be more as if it's really drawn on the map, you might also want to play with the blend mode. For example, here in my map folder, let's take the last one. Here going up to Tibet, you can take the last shape and try to use a different blending mode, and you can multiply it, but then it's getting darker, or you can use where is it, blending mode, anything like probably no, color dodge is wrong. Yeah, just for me, blending mode always means, yeah, vivid light, something like this. That blends together with the background nicely. Okay, so let's leave that to normal. Good, that's it for the Indiana Jones inspired map animation. I hope I gave you a nice overview of the different methods how to animate a path and how to put the overlay with green screen footage on it. You can also, of course, add some pictures to it and so on. Hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.